This is a screenshot from the website gasbuddy.com, and the idea here is people share for an entire metropolitan area the places where you can buy gas the cheapest. Now, if you recognize any of those places in Detroit, some of those are an hour from each other. Yeah, that means people are willing to drive maybe an hour out of their way just to save a few pennies on gasoline. Clearly, people get very emotional about buying gas. And it's also the perfect way to start on our new concept, surplus value, especially when we talk about what's called consumer surplus, which is looking at this from the buyer side, since we're usually more buyers than sellers. The idea behind surplus value is how much extra value do I gain beyond the market price? So for example, how much are you willing to pay for gasoline? $3, $4, $5, $6? The most I've ever paid is about $4.40, and that was a lot, but I bought it. Since I bought it, I know that I must see that as worth it. So imagine seeing this the next time you drive by the gas station. That's right, $5.27 for regular. Now, would you buy it? Well, this is a real sign. So apparently there were people spending $5.27 a gallon on gasoline. And it must have been a good trade because people are rational and they were buying it. So let's say for a moment this is you. And that $5.27, that's the reality in the town where you live, and every gas station you go by, $5.27. You're getting used to paying it. You don't like it, but you're getting used to it. Now, is that a good trade? Yes, it is. If you're buying it, you're rational. You must be making a good trade, and certainly the gas station is benefiting. Both parties benefiting. Good trade. Then you see Big L's super discount gas, $2.27, and it's a fine product. Of course, you pull in there and you save $3 per gallon over what you were apparently willing to pay. This is called surplus value because you've just paid $3 less per gallon than the maximum you're willing to pay. It's like a giant discount. Let's have a look now from the producer standpoint. And please don't mind the egregiously horrible photoshopping here. So let's say in this market, a baseline price for a hug really is $5. Now those people on the left will take free. But what if the market really is paying $5? People insist on giving them the $5. That's the market price. All $5 would represent producer surplus for them. Of course, that's the amount they're getting over the minimum they would take. This picture sort of represents the fact that different producers are going to have a lower baseline, a minimum. Anything they get over their minimum, producer surplus. Believe it or not, we do have an excellent way, and one we've already explored, to illustrate surplus value. It's our graphic of supply and demand, going to come in handy yet again. First thing I'm going to ask you to do, try and find the highest price anybody is willing to pay for gasoline. Well, that's going to be right here, because any price above that, there literally is no demand curve. There is no more demand. There's some poor schlub who needs gas so bad, he's willing to pay that extreme amount. But notice if you look at the quantity there, it's literally like one guy. Now, as the price falls, more and more people start to enter the market. That's sort of how we want to read this. And as it continues to fall, lots of people would suddenly want to buy gas. Now, there's a problem here. The market price is P0. So these people are all going to be able to purchase gas, and they're all going to get consumer surplus. The distance between the demand curve and the actual market price will be consumer surplus. To further illustrate that, let's take one more individual person. Let's take this person right there. Now, it looks like they're willing to pay roughly that price, but they only have to pay P0. So this vertical distance for them is consumer surplus. So if we could add up all of the vertical distances, we would have the total of consumer surplus in this market. Okay, now let's take a look at it from the producer standpoint. What's the absolute lowest price any producer in this entire market's willing to take? Well, it's going to be right there. At that very low price, there's one maybe producer, but most of them are saying no way. Now again, as we start to raise our price, you see more and more supply starts to enter. But of course, the market sets a single price. So just like with consumer surplus, let's look at one individual person with producer surplus. How about this person? Now, that person is willing to take this price right here. But you see, they're pretty happy. They were willing to take this price, yet they're getting P0. So that vertical distance represents their producer surplus. Now, you see this entire area then would represent all of the producer surplus. So do you remember the formula for the area of a triangle? Well, in the second part of this cartoon, there it is, 1/2 base times height. So when we have our nice linear demand curves and linear supply curves, we can actually do this geometry math, especially if we're given the numbers. 1/2 base times height. Well, the cat said the dog was making it hungry, so because our class is rated PG-13, I won't show you the rest of these pictures. Okay, so let's do a real example with some real numbers. So first of all, market price. Market price, $6. That will be the official price determined by supply and demand. How many good trades will happen there? 20. That's our equilibrium quantity. Very basic. Now, what about our demand? Well, above $9, you see, there is absolutely no demand. So the highest absolute price here anyone's willing to pay is $9. But obviously, with 6 being the equilibrium, there are going to be a lot of happy people here who are not paying their maximum price. So 1/2 base times height, 9 minus 6 is 3, times 20 is 60, divided in half, $30. Dollars are our units of surplus value. So $30 of consumer surplus. Now, for the suppliers, no one's in at anything below $3. Below 3, literally no supply. As we work our way higher, though, suppliers join the market. So again, it's just that easy formula. 6 minus 3 is 3, times 20 is 60, divide it in half, and get $30 of producer surplus. Of course, we could just calculate total surplus in the market. And we could do that first by finding consumer surplus and producer surplus, or we can just look at the market as a whole. That, of course, would be 9 minus 3, that's 6, times our 20, that's 120, divided by 2 is $60. Now, back to this notion of equilibrium and why we love the market. At this price and at exactly that quantity, that is the most total surplus value we can get. That's why we love market equilibrium. If we go any further, we're no longer getting surplus value because someone's going to get a good price at someone else's bad price or vice versa. Anything short of 20 and we're leaving surplus value on the table. So again, why do we love equilibrium? Because it gives us the most total surplus value. One final thought. AP actually might not give you actual numbers and make you do actual geometry formulas. They might just do this. Now there's two things in one here. First of all, what I call interior spaces. So you might be asked, which space represents consumer surplus? You'd answer A. Or you might be asked, which interior spaces represent total surplus? Then you'd have to say A plus B. Now the second thing I have here are what I call border points. So they might say, which border points represent producer surplus? And you would answer P0, Z, P1. Just two different ways that you might get this if you're not doing actual math.